Mm. Hey guys, I hope you can hear me and that I'm visible and that the screen that I'm sharing is visible. Let me know if there's any issues in terms of audio, video, anything. Okay, cool. Uh, I'm gonna wait for like a minute or two and then I'll start. Okay, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and start. Hi guys, I'm Prabhat. I'm currently in National Law School of India, Bangalore. Um, yes, so I'm just gonna start right here. Given that you have less than 3 months now, I'd say it's high time to, start taking this seriously if you haven't been so far. So I would want to, at the outset, tell you to prioritize mocks the most, because this is what I thought was most important for my preparation. I gave CLAT last year, so yeah, I would say that give as many mocks as you can. As of now, I think you can give one mock every alternate day. So that would be about 3, 4 mocks a week. And then once you get closer to the actual exam, say in the last 1 month after November or so, you can start giving about 6 mocks a week. So that's nearly one mock every day. So here I would emphasize on giving the mock, sitting properly at your desk or something, and giving an entire mock in one sitting. Give it those 2 hours and prioritize just focusing on that. And also, given that you're closer to the exam now, I would want you to focus more on analysis, apart from giving the mock itself. So I think a formula that I would apply here would be to give double the time that you give to a mock to analysis. So if you're writing the CLAT mock for 2 hours, I would want you to analyze this for 4 hours at least, because this is a time when it's important to iron out all of your mistakes and to, really find out if there's a pattern of mistakes that you follow, or if there's anything that you're doing wrong or you have been doing wrong for a long time. This would be the time to work on those errors, and try to, maximize your score. Also, before I go ahead, I just want to ask if there's any doubts that anybody has, or if there's anything that people would want me to address in general. You can go ahead and, just unmute and ask, or like type it in the chat, whatever you want. Okay. There is a question about quants. I will be addressing that going ahead.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Okay. I'll move ahead. Um, Newspaper. Yes. So I think a lot of you, I think by the time it comes to the last 3 months or so, you start prioritizing solving questions and solving, you know, sectionals and all of that. I would say that is important, of course, but don't give up reading the newspaper, because especially in terms of the new pattern, CLAT is prioritizing reading the newspaper and reading editorials and all of that. Also because, this is important in terms of your reading speed, because also given the fact that you have only 120 questions, it would be very important for you to prioritize speed, because people who are, aiming for the top ranks will be solving almost all questions. So you definitely, if any of you have a speed issue, you definitely should work on that and work to solve almost all questions, at least attempt almost all of them. This is also important from a GK perspective, given that last year, I remember we had three sample papers. The consortium gave us three sample papers, and out of those, at least five or six passages were taken directly from editorials from the Hindu and from other newspapers. So I would say that continue reading the newspaper until mid-November or so, at least so that it gives you a general idea of what's going on. And this is also very important from the point of view of making educated guesses, because a lot of stuff that you won't realize is important now will make sense to you a lot later. So something that you might have just come across in a newspaper now, you might remember during the actual exam, that might allow you to, make an educated guess, and, might just help you get that few extra marks. Uh, so I would say for newspapers, prioritize your editorials. And this isn't like a fun, casual leisure reading. I want you to, sit with a newspaper, focus, give it like an hour, just read the editorials very quickly, and make sure that you're comprehending everything that you're reading. And then after that, just like go through the other news very quickly, try to understand important issues, research on them, and that should be good enough. Uh, right, right. Okay. I think most of you would be in the 12th grade right now. So if any of you are worried about school right now, I would honestly say it's not worth it, because you've got a lot of time after CLAT as well to think about school. So right now, I would say prioritize CLAT over school. Your boards too are going to be, a lot later. So I would say that right now you should just focus on CLAT. And honestly, if you have to bunk a few classes, if you have to skip school, all of that would ideally make sense right now, at least in these last couple of months. Try to go for projects and all if that's important. Um, I think in my time I just went to school for like a couple of days in a month, and I would just focus mostly on doing my projects, and those two I would give like 2-3 days max. So just let school take a backseat right now. You'll be able to catch up, at least as long as you're like in humanities and commerce. It should be pretty easy. For science too, if you've got coachings and all of that, try to give more time to CLAT right now, because you'll have plenty of time later to catch up. Right. Okay. So coming to consortium papers, uh, I think if you guys haven't been solving papers from the CLAT consortium as such, you should do that every now and then. And when I say practice new pattern CLAT papers, I mean those that have come out after 2020. So it's essentially the same pattern that has been following from 2021 onwards, except for the fact that you have 120 questions now. I would say take the entire full length 150 question mock and solve that also, because it'll help you with your time either way, and the assessing the quality of questions and the kind of questions that come is very important. So you've got like the three sample papers from last year, including the actual papers from 2021 and 22 and 23. So I would say that, space these out, write at least one of these every 2-3 weeks. And this will help you, gain a better understanding of what the consortium actually wants you to write. Honestly, these are a lot easier than the papers that you get here in NLTI and like other papers that you keep solving from other coachings. So don't let it get to your head, but it is important to, understand what they really expect of you. So say you've had a really bad mock or something, the next day just decide to give, an actual consortium paper, a CLAT paper, because you'll get a better score, so it'll obviously boost your morale. And secondly, it, helps you gain understanding of what's really important here. Because say you got a paper with like really difficult GK, really difficult logical reasoning, and really difficult maths, and then you get really annoyed with that. So I would say use the consortium papers as a sort of threshold for understanding what your prep should be like and what areas you should be focusing on. Okay, coming to GK, I think GK would ideally be an issue for a lot of people. It was for me too. Um, so there are people who have probably been working on GK right from the start, and you've been making your monthly notes and various subheadings and all of that. And there are probably a lot of you who have just started or are yet to, properly start GK. So I'll be advising you based on that. If you've been doing GK for a long time, I would say prioritize studying the notes that you have made long ago. If you've been making notes for, say, a year or so, I would say go back and read all of those notes. Spend about an hour or two every day at least just reading notes that you have made previously, because you don't want to be, making new notes every day and forgetting everything that you've done before. So I would say read your old notes every day, give it give it proper time and keep going through it and making sure that you remember everything that you're doing. Here too, I would want to emphasize on your study buddy groups. I think you've got groups in NLTI itself. Otherwise, too, if you've got friends who are, studying with you and all of that, do GK together, quiz yourselves. If you want to share your notes and then decide that today somebody is going to do defense exercises and somebody else is going to do environmental acts and all of that, quiz yourselves on these things, ask each other questions, do like a mini practice test, all of that. You guys can actually even try making questions on your own, solving them. I think that would help out a lot in trying to, understand it from each other's perspective, because it honestly helps to get somebody else's perspective also while you're trying to study. Right. Now, coming to people who have to start making GK notes right now, who have to, properly start doing GK right now, I would say it's pretty late in the day to be doing daily GK. Like your daily compendiums are very vast and they cover a lot of news that isn't actually important. So I would say you should prioritize monthly compendiums. There's a lot of there's a lot of sources online that will allow you to get good monthly compendiums. I think you've got the Career Launcher Manthan that comes out, the monthly Manthan. I think that would be pretty helpful for you. And obviously for everyone, you should continue reading the newspaper because that is very important. Also, you should make your own notes. I think this is something that you should prioritize, because if you're just reading sources that somebody else is prepared, that some coaching has prepared, then you're not really gonna the information is not really gonna register in your head. At least that's what I think happened to me while I was preparing. I think it would be helpful if you tried making notes on your own, either handwritten or like on your laptop or whatever. So yeah. Uh, Okay, coming to quants, I think quants is a pretty big issue for people. I've also got doubts regarding quants. Um, I think the only thing I can say for quants is that you need to keep practicing continuously. There is nothing else. There is no shortcut to doing well in quantitative techniques. Because like, I mean, so I would say that first, at the very start, you'd have to learn the fundamental concepts. You can't just, maths is one section that you can't just, do on the basis of instinct. So make sure that you learn fundamental concepts. And this is much easier now with the new pattern, where you only have to focus on a few given topics. So I would say a ratio proportion, averages, interest, time and work, time, speed, distance, all of that. These are the most important topics. I would say just focus on these. Um, as long as you get your fundamentals clear on these topics, you should be pretty good to go. Considering that at least, I would say at least 2 out of 3 passages in quants will be from these topics. So prioritize these topics, learn your fundamental concepts, and apart from that, all you have to do is practice. And while you're practicing too, don't practice like random questions from like your NCRT or whatever. I would say find questions that are passage based. There's a lot of resources online, and otherwise, I would say banking exams, all of that. There's a lot of resources, and you can reach out also if you want to figure out what sources you can use. Practice passage-based questions, practice questions that CLAT has put before. These should be pretty important, and this should be enough, honestly, to get you a good score in quants. As long as you do your daily practice, I think, and if you get your calculations clear, stop making silly mistakes, then you should be good to go. How you should stop making silly mistakes is obviously, again, by doing regular practice. Like, you need to be very comfortable with doing long calculations. You need to be comfortable with the fact that there will be calculations that are difficult. There will be fractions and decimals, and obviously it'll only come with practice and experience. And yeah, you should give enough time to quants in the paper, and that means giving neither too less nor too much time. So there's probably a few of you who start with quants right in the start. Uh, I never did that because I felt that it would take up too much of my time and my effort. So I just did the paper in the pattern that it comes. But otherwise, just I would say give it like 20-ish minutes, which should be 15 to 20 minutes should be good for quants. You can, you know, so what CLAT does is that it normally will put like one very difficult passage and will put like one slightly okay passage and an easy one. So I would say don't get stuck up on one passage if you feel like it's not happening, if the calculations are too tough, or if the concept is something that you don't really something that you're weak in, then I would say move on to the next set, solve or at least go through every single set in quants so that you can understand which one is easy, which one you can focus on better. Give it enough time. Sometimes the calculations just seem to prolong a little bit, but then they work out in the end. So make sure that you're giving enough time and that you've considered each and every set and every option there. Okay, coming to legal. Legal is a place where you have a lot of scope for for getting scores. So all you have to do is work continuously on increasing these scores. I think the last couple of months, all I did was doing past year questions, your PYQs. There's a lot of compendiums that compile all of these from over the years. For past year questions, I think you can also practice old CLAT pattern questions, because essentially what the consortium does is give the same questions, but change the format. They give you a longer passage, stuff like that. So there isn't any new content, new type of question that they're going to bring in for you. It's going to be the same concept, same type of questions given in a new form. So I would say prioritize past year questions for like the past 10 years at least, which should give you enough material for the next couple of months. Do those, and that should be good enough, apart from doing your regular mocks, of course. Here too, I would emphasize on analysis. Try to understand if there's any pattern of errors that you've been making, if there's anything that you should pay more attention to, whether you're not reading the principle carefully enough, or whether you're not reading the question carefully enough. Try to identify if there's any errors that you make regularly in mocks, and just work on ironing those out. Legal should be pretty okay as long as you do just good, if you have good practice in mocks. RC and LR are, I would say pretty much consider them to be the same section, because they're both reading based. They have similar questions. I would say just consider them to be the same. I would say get your logical reasoning fundamentals, clear though. Understand arguments, sub-arguments, your your premises, conclusions, all of that. Once you're done with that, then just keep practicing questions. I think what you guys can do is practice GMAT questions, and SAT questions, which would help you in getting a little bit of diversity in terms of your question types. Practice LSAT questions. They might be slightly tougher, but I think it'll help you really get better, more comfortable with the subjects. And again, I would also emphasize on your reading and comprehension speed, for which you need to keep doing editorials. You need to keep practicing mocks. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think what you'll have to dedicatedly give time to is mocks and analysis. That should pretty much help all of your sections. And once again, analysis takes precedence over here. You need to be giving at least 3 or 4 hours to analyzing your mocks, go through every single question, solve it again, try to think of what you did at that time, or why you got a question wrong, how you could have approached the question differently. Give it that time, because it's very important for you to understand your mistakes and understand what your state of mind is when you're making them, so that you don't repeat the same errors over and over. And of course, it goes without saying, your analysis has to be done almost immediately after you've given the mock. So within the next 1 or 2 days, you have to do the analysis. Like I said, from mid-October or November, you're going to be doing 6 mocks a week. So you should be doing uh okay, there's a question on how many mocks you should do per week. I would say right now do 3 or 4 mocks a week. So like one every alternate day, and do your analysis on the breaks that come in the middle. So like if you've solved a mock on Monday, do your analysis either on Monday itself or by Tuesday latest. And leave one buffer day where you can catch up on all, suppose you forgot to do analysis one day, or if you had some questions to review, you had doubts to ask from anybody. So, you ask doubts to your mentors, and after that, you find one day where you just, finish all of that, iron out everything. Uh, that should be good enough. And once you reach mid-October or November, I would say start doing one mock every day. So, and do like 6 mocks a week, and analyze on the same day, and leave just one day. So say leave a Saturday when you will finish doing all leftover analysis, anything that's left out from your week, that you will do on one given day. Yes, okay. I'll come over to doubts now. Um, okay, there's a question: if I was an avid reader, I think I was pretty comfortable with my reading in terms of the comprehension and all of that. But then again, even if you aren't avid readers, if you haven't really read a lot of books, 3 months is honestly enough time to keep to get better with your reading in terms of speed, in terms of comprehension, all of that. So just keep doing your editorials, keep doing mocks, and I think reading, being a reader or not, shouldn't really matter to you. How you should do analysis. Okay, so I already went over this, but so what you should do is give your mock again. So once you've finished giving a mock, go through your score, uh, and then so without seeing which answer is correct or which one is wrong, just go through the mock once. Try to see if the answers that you marked are correct or wrong. Like I feel like if you solve the questions again, a lot of the questions that you were solving within a time pressure, you'll change a lot of those answers. You'll understand a lot of them better once you go through them again and without that time pressure. So, and once you've done that, try to go through all of your incorrect questions, try to understand why or what you were thinking while you were solving them, and and if there's an analysis, if there's an explanation for the question, go through that, try to understand what the examiner wants you to see in this question, and try to work on those. um your stagnating mock scores. Okay. Got it, got it. Okay, so I think in your last couple of months, you're going to find stagnating scores a lot. So I would say don't stress out too much about it. It happens, and it's natural. So like I think I had started out with a pretty low score. I was like in my 40s or 50s, like 1 year before CLAT. And then gradually my score came up to the 70s, and so like once it came to the 70s, I hit a plateau, and I had stagnating scores for like months on end. So don't worry, I would say keep doing mocks. Even if you can increase your score by like 1 mark, it's worth it. And don't worry about your stagnating scores, because mocks are just for practice, honestly. Or don't give so much thought to your scores. An ideal score. Okay, you score about 60 right now. I would say there is no ideal score per se. Um, so here's here's what happened with my scores. there's probably a lot of you who hear from your friends who are scoring in like the 90s or hundreds or probably something like that. Let me tell you, my scores were almost always within the 70s or 80s, and I've only gotten 100 or even a 90 something on a mock like twice or thrice. In fact, like 3 or 4 days before CLAT, I'd written a mock and I got like 72 or 73. So I would say that don't really think about scores so much. Just work on improving yourself, work on improving errors that you made the previous time and make sure they don't happen again. Because scores in the end don't really matter so much. I kept getting scores of 80, 75, 79. And then in the actual CLAT paper, it happened to be much easier. So then I got like 97 or the 8, if I remember correctly. So scores aren't the issue here. The issue is just to, get your concepts clear, making sure that you don't make errors. Uh, okay, should you focus on vocabulary? I think it is a little late to, start doing vocabulary from scratch right now. Just keep doing a lot of mocks, going through editorials, all of that, that should help. However, if you're feeling, if you feel a little overwhelmed with like mocks and analysis on some day, just find a few difficult words, find idioms, find like foreign words, all of that. Just make like a list and put it up on your table or something, and just keep reading it every now and then. But I would say no, don't focus on vocabulary. It's a little late to be doing that. Just given that there's only going to be a limited number of questions that come from vocabulary, and you should be able to figure them out on your own based on context, because honestly, given CLAT 2023's paper, it's not that difficult, and contextual meaning is, good enough for you to understand what's going on. How many marks per week? Okay, so you guys also want to know what my schedule was like. Okay, so you guys should know that I had signed up for coaching and everything for like a year and a half before CLAT, but I was, I wasn't really doing anything for the first 10-ish months. So it was only like the last 3 months or 4 months that where I actually picked them. So until then, my scores were pretty much in like 40s and 50s. So it's obviously very much possible to, pick up even in the last 3 months, even if you haven't really done too much until now. What I did was I would prioritize. Also, so I didn't really make GK notes until like the last 3 or 4 months. So it's definitely possible for you to do that. What I would do is spend like 2 hours every morning just going through GK that I've done before. I would make my own notes. I would just go through all of that. After that, I would give a few sectionals or something. And then I would give a mock. So I would give a mock between the time that is allotted. So like 2 to 4 is your time for CLAT. I would recommend that you guys sit at a desk and properly write it from 2 to 4, because so what happens is that 2 to 4 is a time when most people end up feeling sleepy. I did too. So just practice mocks from 2 to 4 for now for like 3 months so that you don't end up feeling sleepy on the actual day of the exam. Um, but yeah, so I would write a mock and then I would analyze in the evening, give it like 3-4 hours to analysis. And then the rest of the time I would just make new GK notes. So last couple of months, last couple of weeks especially, all I was doing was GK, mock analysis, and back to GK. I think that is all that you should be doing also. What would be a good plan for the last 90 days if you have school till 5:30? I think it would be important to prioritize CLAT, because if any of you guys are worried about backup options and other exams and all of that, you're going to have plenty of time after CLAT also to consider these options, because for those of you who are going to write like CUET and all of that and apply to other colleges, there is plenty of time after CLAT. Also for kids who are in science, I think you do have some time after CLAT to, figure out all of this. I would say if you can, try to bunk school or like try to skip school on days that you can. And, prioritize writing mocks and doing analysis in GK. If you have to absolutely go to school, I would say try to do GK while you are in school, like between classes or something like that. You do end up getting time. So if you can, if there's some classes that aren't really important that you feel you can miss out, then prioritize on doing GK. Come back home and write a mock. Writing a mock is the most essential. So I would say do that regardless of whether you have school or not. If you have to start from zero, can you crack CLAT in GK? Yes, you can, absolutely. Even if you're starting from zero, I would say it's definitely possible to, to still pick up right now. Important topics and points. Yeah. So I would say average, ratio, proportion, percentage. One sec, I'll just go back to the page on quants. Yeah, ratio, proportion, averages, interest, time and work, time, speed, distance. These are your important topics, and just work on these, prioritize them most importantly. You don't really have to do permutations and combinations. If you want to, just like go over them, but I really doubt CLAT is going to put any questions from that. A lot of you are asking questions about how many marks I used to score. I think it would really help for me to tell you that marks do not matter at all. My average score across mocks used to be 75 or so. And at the end of my prep, I had about 80, 85. That is it, honestly. So I would say your score that you get in mocks is definitely not what is going to happen in the actual exam. Reading speed is low. Please read editorials. Please, solve more mocks. Prioritize doing the CR and RC sections importantly. Managing time in the legal section. Okay, for all of you who are facing time issues with respect to particular sections, I would say give a particular set of times to each section. So I'll just type this out in the chat box. Give me 1 second. In the meantime, if any of you have any other doubts, please, you guys can keep typing in the chat box. Or if you want to unmute and ask, you can go ahead and do that. That would be fine. Okay. So this is ideally what your timestamps should be like. You give 25 to 30 minutes to English and logic both. You give 7 to 10 minutes to GK. Give about 35 minutes to legal and 15 to 20 minutes to maths. When you're solving sectionals, I would say you should just keep an alarm or something, keep a timer, and make sure that you're doing your mock exactly in this time. If you're say you're doing legal and 35 minutes have passed, I would say stop doing it right there, move on to the next section, and don't think about it anymore until you've got time left in the end. Keep doing this, keep setting timers and working on finishing the section in then. And I guess that is the only thing that you can do. Just keep doing regular practice. Don't I think for legal especially, don't do a deep reading of the passage. Just skim through it. Try to identify the principle. Read the principle very carefully. Apart from that, legal passages will also give you a lot of random stuff, very random philosophies and all of that. Don't start reading that too deeply. If you want, just take a glance at the questions before you start solving, so that you can understand what is important there. your reading speed is very slow. You're able to read a passage in 8 minutes. Okay, I would say that you need to improve on your reading speed because a passage in 8 minutes is very, very slow. It is suicide at this point. But obviously, don't worry, you can pick up pace. You can read editorials, uh, keep practicing questions. Try to make so what you can do is if you've got um very little time, then I would say just skim through the passage, read the questions, and then just find answers to those specific questions. Um, do you recommend attending online classes or practice sectionals in the same time? Honestly, you can attend your online classes if you think they're helping with regard to your fundamentals. But again, it's the last 3 months. I would say don't attend classes just for the sake of them. They don't really help. This is a time for you to figure out what works for you. Just do your own thing, try to figure out what's important to you. If there's a particular doubt session or a particular concept that you think you don't know and there's a class happening for that, just do that. Don't go attending daily classes and all. It's not really worth it now, it won't help. Okay. Improving scoring critical reasoning, I think the only thing you can do is go back, analyze all of your mistakes, because critical reasoning is a section where a lot of the questions are, you know, based on, the same sort of fundamentals, the same things over and over again. So I would say just go through your mistakes, go through past papers, try to understand what the concept is trying to test, go through the answer key very carefully, like the explanation that is given there, understand what the examiner is trying to understand from the question, and obviously get your fundamentals clear, get your basic understanding of the concepts clear. And apart from that, there is honestly only practice that you can do. So in terms of mocks, I had given about 90 to 100 mocks by the end, which is what helped me, because I attended classes and all of that, but I didn't do too many sectionals. I didn't do too much extra stuff. I just did a lot of mocks. So just just focus on doing that, because that should be helping you quite a bit. Can you just focus on DI for maths? Actually, I would say data interpretation is not really the best. You shouldn't just do data interpretation, because CLAT isn't going to give you as many graphs as it is passages. So of course, you should know how to read graphs, you should know how to read pie charts, all of that, but focus more on passage-based questions. What should be frequency of mocks per week? Again, right now, I would say do one mock every alternate day, 3 or 4 per week. And once you're in the last month of your prep, do 6 mocks a week. Okay. For legal, is the best way to improve doing sectional tests or reading legal articles? I would say don't really read legal articles per se. It's not really going to help you so much, because there's no way to figure out that CLAT is going to give you the exact same passage, and it's very unlikely. So I would say practice past your questions and do sectional tests. That is the only thing that can help. Yeah, accuracy is between 60 to 70% in mocks, and especially low in logic. How to increase accuracy? For increasing accuracy, the only thing that I would recommend is doing your analysis properly. I think what it would be, you would be finding a pattern of errors that you make, especially in your logical section, because questions are very over there. So I would recommend doing your analysis properly, going through each question, doing it again, and hopefully it should get better. Most of the questions that are asked for GK from CLAT 22 and 23 are taken from editorials. Yes, absolutely. It's very important to prioritize the topics that come in editorials. I think you should be fairly able to identify whether, whether a topic is important or not. So go through the editorials, find a topic, figure out if it's important, and just do those topics, find out background information, do related topics from that. How many total topics in GK did I have by the end of my prep? I didn't really, so I didn't really count per se how many topics I have, but I just did the most important topics, and I did things that were very important at the time. So I would say just go through the editorials, try to identify what's important, go through compendiums of all of these IAS institutes and all of that. They have a lot of compendiums. So I would say they do outline all of these most important topics. Speak to your study buddy groups, try to identify topics on your own, and do related background research and all. How did I manage my school exam? Honestly, I did not focus on school at all until the CLAT exam was over, because until December is basically just like projects, and then they're like practice exams and all. So I would say give 2-3 days to projects. Get it made from outside if you can. Don't divert time anywhere apart from CLAT for the time being, at least. If you're really serious about CLAT being like a proper option for you, then like focus on CLAT right now and think about other exams and stuff later. QT in both sample papers was more logical based and conceptual. How do we go about that? Yes, so I think it would be important for you to focus on doing calculations properly. Focus on solving more and more. That should help you with your calculations. And so the only thing that can help is practice. Once you get your concepts clear, try to keep doing practice almost every day for maths. What should be a good score as of now? I would say scores are unimportant. But if you want me to give you some sort of metric, I would say last couple of months you should be getting 70, 80-ish, which is a good enough score right now. Given NLTI marks are of a pretty good level, and I think they're harder than the CLAT exam. So getting a 70 or an 80 is pretty good right now. How much time should it take to read one passage of legal and one passage of logic? Legal shouldn't take you more than 3-ish minutes. 3 minutes is a good enough time for both legal and logic. So yeah. Do you recommend doing GMAT or LSAT questions over other class study material? Honestly, just space it out a little bit. If you feel like you've done a lot of your coaching material today, and you're getting the same kind of questions over and over again, then do GMAT or LSAT questions. It'll help you get a little diversity. Sources for doing quants fundamentals. There's a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of random. Honestly, I would say even go through the NCRT, try to get your concepts clear. That should be good enough. Many times you read the passage, but you're unable to get a basic understanding of it, even though everyone else finds it easy. Also, just one thing I would want to point out, please don't compare yourself to what other people think, because there's a lot of sections that people find easy. There's a lot of sections or a particular passage also that you might find difficult. So yeah. Is it due to time pressure? Yes, it definitely might be due to time pressure, and also that, okay, so if you get a passage that's very abstract, if it's very philosophical or something like that, then I would say go through the questions, try to identify, specific answers that you can find. Yeah, that should be good enough. What were your GK notes like? Were they brief? How long did you spend making topics? How do you decide whether topics were important enough? My GK notes were very crisp and to the point, because nobody's gonna ask you, information that is like very long drawn, and like nobody's gonna ask you to write a passage on something. CLAT is gonna ask you very specific questions based on what is most important. So like identify the most important highlights of an issue. How to decide whether a topic is important. See whether it's made, whether it's come in editorials, whether it's been continuously followed by the newspapers and all of that. and whether it's important in terms of like, say there's something that's really related to like India and the world and the G20 meeting, all of that would be very important. uh Whereas something that's related to like a deal between two countries that are like in Scandinavia is like very unimportant. uh did you take a printout of mocks? Yes. So this is one thing that I did. I never gave mocks online because, I feel like they hurt my eyes and it's really not the same. Uh, so if you can, I would recommend taking printouts of mocks and, doing it physically. Because what I did was, I used to underline as I read. So like in terms of reading sections, especially, I would underline important points and I would read the passage like that. So if you can, prioritize doing mocks physically rather than online. How many hours of content I do per week? There isn't really a required amount per se. I would say just do like 1 hour a day for like 4 or 5 days a week. I think that should be good enough. Okay, I think that is all of the doubts that I've gotten on chat. Are there any other doubts, anything that people would want me to clarify, any other random questions, anything that you want to ask? You guys can unmute and ask also, or you can send it in the chat. Uh, is NLS increasing seats this year? I don't know. Honestly, doesn't matter right now. You just need one seat, so just prioritize on on increasing your score. And also I would say that for those of you who are like looking to get into NLS per se or like NALSAR or something, it doesn't really matter all that much. What matters is that you get a good enough score in CLAT and then like you get sorted into your college either way. Okay, any other questions that I can help solve? Uh, Previous topics of GK are left. Okay, so what you can do for that is go read the monthly compendium. So say you've got topics left from January to April. I would say find a January compendium, February compendium, March, April. Find monthly compendiums for all of these. Find and make notes on your own. Uh, Yeah, okay. So this is also for people who have been studying and working for a long time. I think a lot of you will be getting burnt out by now. Uh, and you might not feel motivated enough to do, daily targets and all of that. So what you can do is honestly give yourself a couple of days. Take 1 or 2 days off, maybe give no mocks, just do like a little bit of GK, go out, watch a movie. If you want to go to like a hill station or something, try doing that. I think this would help a lot. So personally, I watched a lot of movies and all of that. So even like a month before CLAT, I would go and like I would just randomly finish a mock and then go watch TV for like an hour. So I think that would help you, de-stress a little bit. Just reading diversified articles help every day. Don't waste too much time reading random articles because it's not, it's a little late to be doing that now with just less than 3 months left. Read your editorials and solve mocks. That should be good enough. Okay. Any other doubts? Anything else? Uh, okay. Okay, if there isn't anything else, strategy for class 11 students. Class 11 students, honestly, um, you guys can take it a little easier. You guys can go through like random articles, do vocabulary, practice reading fundamentals, read fundamentals of legal, um, do your fundamentals of maths, give each thing a lot of time. So yeah, 11th, you should be focusing on getting your fundamentals clear. How to decode a passage on a very technical topic like quantum physics or something. Again, here, if you're not really getting the passage per se when you read it, go through the questions. That should make it a lot easier for you to understand and find out an answer. Okay. Okay, strategy for those starting preparation from right now, I would say your most important strategy should be to prioritize mocks. Do as many mocks as you can. That is most important. For and prioritize mocks, prioritize GK. That is most important. How much time did I spend on recreation in a day? Yeah, I definitely spent a lot of time on, so like every time I did a mock, I would go play a game, or like I would go cycle, or go for a run or watch TV, something like that. So make sure you're giving yourself enough time to unwind in a day, because otherwise you're gonna burn out. Uh, for okay, okay. I think that's about it. Guys, if there's any other doubts, um, is it okay if you follow limited resources and do maximum revision for GK? Make sure that you've at least gotten the most important topics down. Don't, like suppose you haven't done G20 or something, don't leave that. It's very important that you get the basic fundamental topics out of the way. Apart from that, if there's random GK, you can possibly focus more on revision, but make sure at least till, October or November or so, you're doing a little bit of new GK every day. Um, for okay, for mental pressure and stress from CLAT, I would say don't take too much stress regarding your mock scores. If that's one thing that's stressing people out, and if you're, discussing scores with friends and all of that, don't let that affect you. Scores do not matter. I think I'm just gonna say this clearly. Scores do not matter at all in terms of your final result. So even if you're getting like 40s, 50s, 60s right now, it's fine. You do have a lot of time to catch up, and it doesn't really matter all that much. Otherwise, for, if you're facing any pressure, what you can do is go talk to a friend, talk to your parents, talk to a mentor, anybody, just vent out a little bit, find enough time for recreation. Don't let the pressure get you. Just do just do your daily necessary amount, give a mock, do analysis, do some GK. That's all you need to do. Uh yes, okay. I think that's about it. All right. Um I'm gonna end the session now. I hope this has been useful for you guys. Do reach out if there's any other help that you need. Um, okay. Thank you so much, guys. All the best. I hope you guys keep at it, and I hope stuff works out well. Uh, okay.